Jordan.
Oh yeah.
Try to get these.
The ocean is vast, mysterious, and filled with some truly bizarre creatures. Covering about 70% of the planet, it's a place we've barely explored. Don't you think it's time we learned more about what's lurking down there? From unidentified sea monsters to deadly giants, here are the 20 scariest deep-sea creatures ever discovered. Number 20. The box jellyfish. The box jellyfish is one of the most dangerous of all the jellyfish in the oceans. It has a deadly sting that contains hideous toxins that attack the heart, nervous system, and skin cells. People who are stung by the box jelly often don't even live to tell the tale, as the venom works so quickly. The victim may well go into cardiac arrest before they even reach the shore. It's truly terrifying. So then, what does this mean for a shark? Sharks have pretty different skin than humans do. That much should be obvious. Our flimsy outer surface is no match for the box jellyfish's tentacles. A shark, however, is made out of much sturdier stuff, or they eventually are anyway. A box jellyfish could certainly have a go at a smaller and younger shark. Baby sharks have not developed the tough skin that older sharks have, which can resist the stingers. These super nasty tentacles have about 5,000 stinging cells, which are triggered when they come into contact with their prey. Small, young sharks have been found dead with the telltale signs of jellyfish stings, but older and larger sharks are likely able to resist the deadly tentacled attack. So, in a general battle between a shark and a box jellyfish, it seems that size does indeed matter. Number 19. The flower urchin. This hedgehog-looking sea creature is a kind of sea urchin that is mostly found in the waters of the Indo-West Pacific. Even though they don't really look like much, they are not to be underestimated. These innocuous-appearing things were named the world's most dangerous sea urchin by our old pals at the Guinness Book of World Records. And you know those guys don't just hand out any old title willy-nilly. Mostly found lurking in coral reefs, seagrass beds, and both rocky and sandy places beneath the water, flower urchins are considered extremely dangerous. This sea hedgehog has nasty stinging parts which are contained within their pretty-looking little petals. So that's a rather rude surprise. And that sting is one which is considered medically significant, so it's not exactly a walk in the park if you're unlucky enough to get stung by them. The thing is, though, these urchins don't always need for you to actually touch them or officially step on them. Some species are able to shoot their painful, venom-loaded spines across a short distance. Lovely. Flower urchins are, unsurprisingly perhaps, not really preyed upon by many other animals. They're toxic to most fish and painful to many other creatures, including humans. One sting from this sea creature can even prove to be fatal in some cases. The venom contained within it can have a powerful effect on its victim, causing symptoms such as severe, debilitating pain followed by muscle paralysis and breathing problems, then numbness and disorientation. The fatalities associated with these stings actually record the cause of death as drowning, following the poisoning from the venom, which in some cases is enough to cause the victim to lose consciousness or become confused, thus leading them to drown. What a fun one. Number 18. The Goblin Shark. The deep-sea-dwelling Goblin Shark is like a nightmare combination of a frightening alien face and a squashed dinosaur shark. It's actually rather horrific. However, I shouldn't judge something on its appearance. I know that's not fair. But are these guys as scary as they look? Well, let's find out. With a long snout on the top and a set of very sharp teeth on the bottom, this shark seems equipped enough to do some predatory stuff. It has a weird technique for catching its prey. The Goblin Shark can eject its jaws and then send out a dangerous snapping motion to grab passing prey. It will simply reel its jaws back in and scarf up the catch. This long-nosed shark is actually, and mercifully, much lazier than many other sharks. Its sluggish behavior means that it's not likely to expend a whole lot of energy in a high-speed pursuit. Given one look at this freaky fish, no doubt you'll be able to outswim it just based on fear alone. Woo, I'm glad that one's finished. These guys give me the creeps. Number 17. Anglerfish. This is one creepy sea creature, and they have some fairly scary adaptations as well to match their creepy vibes. Anglerfish are found in seas all over the world, living in deep waters, mostly near the seafloor. They are amongst those odd creatures that have their own source of luminescence, which they use in the weird fleshy thing that dangles out of the top of their head. This thing is their lure, which they use to attract their prey, like an angler with a fishing line. What makes them even more intriguing is that their bioluminescent lure is powered by symbiotic bacteria that live inside it, producing light through chemical reactions. The anglerfish's hunting strategy is all about patience. They remain motionless and use the glowing lure to draw prey close enough to snap them up. Another bizarre fact about them is their mating behavior, where males, much smaller than females, attach themselves permanently to the female's body, fusing into her flesh and becoming little more than a parasitic sperm provider. This strange adaptation ensures reproduction in the deep, sparsely populated ocean. You see, anglerfish are really efficient hunters. Not only do they have a whole bunch of extremely unpleasant sharp and pointy teeth, but they also have absolutely gargantuan mouths. The anglerfish's massive mouth extends the entire circumference of their head. It can also be extended to such a colossal width that these scary sea dwellers can swallow prey that is twice their size. So, sharks do indeed need to watch out for these dangerous sea monsters. Number 16. The blobfish. Oh, look at these guys. With a face like Mr. Meow or a piece of rude graffiti, the poor old blobfish gets a whole bunch of abuse. Declared by some to be the ugliest animal in the world, the blobfish is kind of fascinating. Their features can be eerily human but usually in a comical way, like a grumpy-faced old cartoon grandpa rather than that of a spooky human face that you sometimes see other animals sporting. The blobfish has a big gelatinous head with huge lips and small eyes, often sporting a particularly displeased expression. You'd probably look a bit cross if people kept making jokes about your face as well. These unfortunate fish belong to a family of sea creatures usually known by the more common name of fathead sculpins. These guys just can't catch a break. The blobfish is perfectly adapted to where it lives. Its gelatinous appearance is the result of having very few bones. Living at depths of 2,000 feet, the pressure down there would crush other types of bodies. So, the blobfish's wobbly body doesn't seem so silly after all. Now does it? Now it's time for today's topic. A group of South African fishermen experienced the shock of their lives when they went to retrieve their fishing net early one morning. Setting out to catch a routine haul of fish, the crew cast their net in the waters off the coast of Durban, a region known for its abundant marine life. However, what they found entangled in their gear the next day left them speechless. As they pulled the net closer, they noticed it was heavier than usual. Initially thinking they had caught a large shark or a school of fish, the fishermen were stunned to see the massive head of an unidentifiable sea creature emerge from the water. Its enormous size and grotesque features, complete with sharp teeth and piercing eyes, were unlike anything they had ever encountered. The creature's body appeared to be severed cleanly, as though it had been cut by an enormous blade. Marine experts speculate that the creature might be a deep-sea predator rarely seen near the surface. Its injuries, they suggest, could have been caused by the propeller of a large cargo ship, as the region is heavily trafficked by commercial vessels. However, no definitive identification has been made, leaving many to wonder if this is a previously undiscovered species, or even something far more mysterious. For now, the fisherman's catch remains a chilling reminder of the unknown depths lurking beneath the ocean's surface. Number 15. The red-bellied piranha. Piranhas have such a terrifying reputation that they are amongst the most feared of predators in the Amazon rainforest. But although they're definitely not the best swimming companions, these fish generally are not out there gnawing on humans all over the place. They mostly eat fish, insects, crustaceans, and even seeds and algae. I mean, they sound almost vegetarian, but don't get too comfortable. If they're hungry and food is scarce, the red-bellied piranha is more than happy to get together with a gang of other piranhas and make a lot of mayhem. Group attacks, although rare, do happen, and they're absolutely not picky eaters in this situation. They will attack and kill literally anything that moves, and their reputation for stripping the flesh from a large animal or even a human being in a matter of minutes is well justified. That's why they have those razor-sharp, pointy teeth, after all. Although there are very few reported cases of piranha attacks on humans, they can, and likely will, have a go at humans during the dry season when food is hard to come by. So, just think twice before you dip a toe in that water. It may be quick, but it would be a painful way to go. Number 14. The Greenland Shark. Slow-moving Greenland sharks are rarely captured on film. That's because they prefer the cold and deep waters of the North Atlantic and Arctic regions, so they don't really land in people's boats like the more infamous sharks in warmer waters. However, these big guys are truly extraordinary. First of all, the Greenland shark is absolutely massive. These extraordinary creatures can reach lengths of up to 24 feet and weigh as much as 3,100 pounds. These sizes are bigger than any of the sharks that we've encountered so far, even the biggest of great whites. An apex predator, the Greenland shark will eat mostly fish, but it has been known to indulge in the odd seal, moose, or even polar bear. Perhaps one of the most incredible things about the shark is how long it can live. They have the longest lifespan of any vertebrate and can live between 300 to 500 years. A study of the species in 2016 discovered a shark that had been born between 1504 and 1744. And that's just mind-blowing. A shark that may have been born when Michelangelo was painting the Sistine Chapel is still alive and swimming today. It's no wonder that these sharks move so slowly. They have all the time in the world. Number 13. The Gulper Eel. The Gulper Eel, also known as the pelican eel, is one of the most unusual and, quite frankly, most creepy animals that you may ever come across in the deep seas of our incredible planet. Isn't gulper a fun word though? Go on, say it. Gulper. See? Anyways, this gulper eel looks sort of like a standard eel, a long body and not much else. They're related to all the other sea-based eels like the moray eel. These gulpers are black in color and are not exactly gigantic, not when they're compared to some of the other eel species. On average, these guys are only between 2 and 3 feet in length. These sea creatures live in the deep ocean and can be found at depths from anywhere between 1,600 and 10,000 feet below the surface. But what actually makes them freaky and fascinating is their ginormous gulping mouth. But it doesn't just go around with a big old, wide-open mouth all the time. The gulper eel is able to expand its mouth like a big balloon so that it can swallow its prey. Afterwards, the eel deflates its mouth and then returns to its regular old eel-shaped body. These mysterious sea creatures are very, very seldom seen, so not that much is actually known about them. That adds to the overall creep factor, now doesn't it? Number 12. The cookie cutter shark. This one has a cute name, but I suspect that it may be a somewhat less charming sort of creature than the image and moniker would suggest. These are cookie cutter sharks. They're pretty small, usually something that makes a creature cute, but they're also extremely bitey. Their name, as you may now be realizing, is all about the way in which these sharks like to take chunks out of their victims. Their jaws resemble cookie cutters, and they have the perfect shape to allow the sea creature to take bites out of their prey's flesh in neat, cookie-like little pieces. Delicious, I'm sure. Since the cookie cutter shark only grows to be about 20 inches long, it would make sense that they primarily eat smaller animals. And they do. They hang out at the bottom of the ocean during the day, feasting on smaller sea creatures that they can swallow down without ever needing to chew. But at night, they have some different ideas. These small sharks get very bold indeed and will sometimes head up to the surface to take chunks out of much bigger predators, like other sharks and killer whales. They are cheeky as well as bitey, it would seem. Number 11. Sea snake. There are tons of different sorts of sea snakes, and almost all of them are venomous. So, in general, it's best to avoid them all. These aquatic creatures are generally found in the sea, although there are a few species that are exclusively freshwater dwellers. They're not like fish, so they don't have gills, and that means that they have to regularly go to the surface in order to breathe. For the most part, sea snakes will only attack if provoked or threatened, but if they do, then it's pretty bad news for whoever or whatever gets bitten. Some species of sea snake are purveyors of the most potent venom of all snakes. They rarely actually use it when they bite. Fortunately, deadly attacks on humans are quite rare. But weirdly, when they do inject venom in a bite, it's often painless and may not even be noticed when it happens. What follows becomes pretty hard to miss, though. Victims may experience a super fast breakdown of skeletal muscle tissue and paralysis. Prior to that, they may have a headache, sweating, and vomiting, then muscle aches and tenderness. Symptoms can take anywhere from 30 minutes to several hours to materialize, so it's not obvious what's happening until it's too late. When paralysis affects the breathing and swallowing, well, that's when it becomes fatal. Number 10. The Portuguese Man O War. Although it looks a lot like a jellyfish, apparently the Portuguese Man O War is not one. They're actually called a siphonophore, which means, and this is freaky, that they are a colony of numerous genetically identical individuals. They cannot survive on their own, so they clump together into a tentacled blob. In order to eat or move, they have to work together a bit like the Borg. So this might be an alien. Portuguese Man O War are clones that spookily move around the ocean in a collection of blobs, using their tentacles to catch prey, and their venom to deliver painful and deadly stings. Nice. So how bad a problem are you likely to have should you encounter a Man O War? Look at that. Look at the colors, blue, green, purple. Well, these alien creatures do wash up on beaches from time to time, and they sting like crazy. So you should never poke anything that even remotely looks like one of these animals, even if it is a pretty rainbow-colored one. A severed tentacle can still sting for ages after it's been detached. Although a sting from one of these weird blobs is unlikely to kill you, there's always a chance that it might. Anaphylactic shock is a possibility, as is cardiac arrest from a bad sting. Plus, it's just super unpleasant, even if you happen to be lucky. Number 9. The Japanese spider crab. The largest crabs in the world, the Japanese spider crabs, have 10 legs that can span as much as 12.5 feet and weigh almost 20 kilograms. They're big enough to consume a human child. Masters of camouflage, these Japanese spider crabs live at a depth of 150 to 200 meters, where they use the stuff all around them to cover their shells and blend into the environment, becoming almost invisible to their predators. That may account for how they can live for up to 100 years, with some of them surviving even longer than that. However, these oversized crustaceans are more likely to be hunted by octopus or stingrays than to be much of a threat themselves. They are scavengers, generally finding their food in the leftovers and decaying debris of animals and plants on the bottom of the ocean floor. There are plenty of legends around these creatures, though. As much as they may not kill a human to feed, they have no problem gorging on any dead bodies that might find their way to the ocean's depths. The Japanese spider crab is really only minding its own business, just being a big old crab and cleaning up a lot of gross, dead stuff. Number 8. The stonefish. Now, this fish can put a serious damper on an afternoon's paddle in the sea, that's for sure. The next time you take a dip in the tropical waters of the Indo-Pacific, you should be careful where you step. The stonefish, a master of disguise, is one of the deadliest animals on Earth. It produces a particularly nasty venom that is often fatal to humans unless antivenom can be administered in time. These super dangerous guys like to hide out on the ocean floor, just looking like a rock. But don't be fooled, these fish are definitely up to no good. The stonefish has 13 venomous spines along its back, and if anything even brushes against these, then venom can be released. If you accidentally step on a stonefish, it will sting you, and that nasty sting is extremely painful and is going to need immediate medical attention. The venom from a stonefish can cause swelling, pain, tissue death, and cardiac arrest. So that's a whole barrel of laughs then. If you simply have to venture into the water where these badass fish hang out, then please be careful. Wear your shoes, watch where you step, and cross your fingers, I suppose. Number 7. The black swallower. Now, this one has a name that is suggestive of something kind of sinister, and that's probably justified. It's definitely up to no good and likely deserves the name of a deadly comic book villain. Would you just look at it? It has rows of jagged and nasty-looking teeth, beady black eyes, and the appearance of something you might well conjure up in the throes of a horrible nightmare. The black swallower is called so on account of this creepy creature's ability to swallow things of a considerably larger size than its own. That can apparently include fish that measure up to 10 times its own size and twice its length. That means they've not only got a surprisingly large mouth but also, and this is pretty gross, a really stretchy gut. Now, the bigger the meal, the more it can stretch to accommodate its size. As it stretches, the fish's skin will become transparent, meaning that if you're lucky, you can actually see what it's eaten inside of its stomach. Although it sounds like a very greedy fish, the black swallower is perfectly adapted to living in the deep ocean. Food all the way down there can be quite scarce, so being able to eat whatever's available to fill up for as long as possible until the next opportunity is its modus operandi. Number 6. The fong-toothed fish. Now, you can probably guess why this fish has been given this particular name. This fishy horror movie monster has some pretty mean-looking fangs. But despite its menacing appearance, the fong-toothed fish is actually pretty dinky, measuring up to about 6 inches when fully grown. So that's a relief, I guess. Although you'll probably never come across one yourself. Even if you did, the scary-faced fish is more likely to give you a jump scare than anything more painful. They also live really deep down in the ocean, at depths of between 1,600 and 16,000 feet or more, hanging out deeper during the day and going to shallower waters at night to feed. Living at such a depth, the fong-tooth has very poor vision. But it also has a super advanced system to sense movement and vibration in the water around it, so it can pick out and chomp down on prey despite not being able to see it. Those fangs are pretty lethal. The fong-toothed fish itself has had to develop a pretty nifty adaptation so that it doesn't accidentally poke holes in its own brain when it closes its mouth. They have special sorts of pouches in their heads to accommodate their fangs. So that's lucky then, or I guess these fish would have died out pretty fast. Number 5. The vampire squid. The vampire squid is, despite its name, apparently neither a squid nor an octopus. Presumably, it's not even actually a vampire, but we should probably just make sure. The vampire squid is a kind of small cephalopod. They live in tropical and temperate waters around the world at depths of between 2,000 and 3,000 feet, at temperatures of about 35.5 to 37 degrees Fahrenheit. They thrive in a low-oxygen environment known as the oxygen minimum zone, where most other creatures cannot survive, giving them a unique ecological advantage. Unlike other cephalopods, they have filaments instead of feeding tentacles, which they use to catch marine snow, tiny particles of organic material that drift down from above. Their ability to conserve energy by floating passively through the water is another key adaptation for life in such harsh conditions. Despite their eerie name, they are actually quite gentle and feed primarily on detritus rather than hunting actively. These unique animals are completely different from other species and are regrettably considered to be endangered due to pollution and the destruction of their habitats. You can probably see why they're called vampire squid. They're black or red in color and have weird web skin that resembles a vampire cape. They also have some extremely spooky red eyes. However, they don't change their body color or release ink when threatened like other squid do. Instead, they eject a glowing, sticky mucus that acts in a similar way and confuses would-be predators. It doesn't seem as though they go around sucking blood, though, and they're not plagued by that pesky affliction of immortality. Number 4. The stingray. The unusual flat shape of the stingray makes this a really distinctive fish, so that makes them easy to avoid if you happen upon one while you're out for a paddle. And you should avoid them just in case. There are actually around 20,000 different species of stingrays that live within the oceans, freshwater rivers, and lakes around the world. They vary in size enormously, from around 10 inches to about 16.5 feet in length, and many of them are endangered as their habitats are under threat and waters warm up in many places. These animals dwell close to the seafloor as this is where they hunt for their prey. They have a long and narrow tail, and that is the pointy and dangerous part of the stingray. Avoid this area at all costs because their tails are often a kind of barbed affair with a whole lot of terrible toxins concealed inside. This is their stinger, and it's also the part of their body they use to protect themselves against any kind of perceived threat. That could include an overenthusiastic or just very unfortunate human that happens to be within striking distance of their venomous tail. Although deaths as a result of a stingray sting are actually very rare, their sting is unpleasant and needs to be applied with extreme accuracy for it to actually be deadly. The most famous unfortunate stingray death was that of Steve Irwin, the popular television nature expert, who was stung directly in the heart when the stingray's tail pierced his chest. This was an extremely unusual occurrence and just a very unlucky situation. But even so, I would still mind your fingers and leave the petting to something a lot more fluffy and a little less stuffed with venom, even if you think these fish are cute. Number 3. The Barel. Now, this fish does look super weird, and it seems that the deeper we look into the oceans of the world, the stranger the sea creatures become. The Barel fish is one such oddity. Equipped for a starring role in a science fiction film, the Barel has a transparent dome-shaped head with extra-sensitive, tube-shaped eyes that are covered by a green liquid-filled shield. Beautiful. This adaptation helps the creature spot prey above them even if they're swimming in the pitch-black darkness of the very deep oceans. Incredibly, their tubular eyes can rotate within their transparent heads, allowing them to look forward when they're eating or directly upward to scan for prey. Their main diet consists of small crustaceans and plankton, which they can snatch from the tendrils of siphonophores, those jellyfish-like creatures that drift in the deep. Scientists believe that the green tint in their eyes helps them filter out the bioluminescent light of other deep-sea creatures, enabling them to focus on their next meal. These unique adaptations are crucial for survival in a world where light is virtually non-existent and food is scarce. They also have a pair of nostrils that look like sad eyes and a pointy snout with a small mouth. They have flat, elongated fins in order to move through the water by simply floating motionlessly, and their bodies contain a selection of luminous organs, giving the fish an otherworldly glow. Now, while the fish is no oil painting, it's hard to argue that it isn't well adapted to its deep-sea habitat. This may be one of the best-equipped fish for functioning down there. While other deep-dwelling animals have lost their sight, the Barel fish has honed its vision to work even in the gloom. This definitely gives them an edge in the food-finding and eating category, and perhaps in evading predators as well. Number 2. The frilled shark. The so-called living fossil is a scary, well actually it's downright terrifying, ancient species of shark that, although rare, is still out there menacing people from time to time with its intensely intimidating appearance and sharkish habits. Although there are apparently a few of these sharks still out there, sightings are so incredibly rare that one has only been captured alive in living memory. On one occasion, this particular specimen was pulled from the water near lake's entrance in Victoria, Australia, by a group of rather surprised fishermen. It was such an unusual occurrence that the story made the headlines and captured imaginations all over the world. What makes this shark even more bizarre is its snake-like body, which can reach lengths of up to 6 feet, allowing it to coil and strike at unsuspecting prey in a motion reminiscent of an eel. Its 300 needle-like teeth are arranged in 25 rows, ensuring that once prey is caught, there's no escape. The frilled shark's diet mainly consists of squid and small fish, but it has been known to swallow prey half its size due to its expandable stomach. Scientists believe this shark's primitive features have remained largely unchanged because it inhabits the deep ocean, an environment that evolves at a slower pace. Despite its fearsome look, this shark poses little threat to humans as it rarely ventures into shallow waters. The super strange shark dates back to at least 80 million years ago, so the thing has been kicking around in our waters for so long it's no wonder that it's known as a fossil. The name frilled shark is due to the big old fish's 6 pairs of frilly gills. It does look a bit like it's sporting some Elizabethan ruff, but with a toothier edge than most of those old stuffy portraits would have. Number 1. The Dumbo octopus. These octopuses live at the deepest, darkest depths of the ocean, the deepest of any known octopus species, in fact 13,100 feet. This means that these animals are adapted to live in very cold water without any sunlight at all. The rare Dumbo octopus also has some unusual behaviors to help them find a mate and successfully reproduce. When the options are limited and there are very few of the species, it's necessary to get creative, you see. Now, it is a tiny bit icky, but you'll be all right. The female Dumbo octopus basically carries a variety of eggs around in different stages of development. So whenever they meet a male they like, they stock up on sperm. You just never know when you might find another eligible bachelor 1 or more miles down in the dark. These octopuses are also fascinating for their unique locomotion. They use their ear-like fins to gracefully propel themselves through the water, resembling a tiny underwater ballet. Additionally, their soft bodies and lack of a rigid shell allow them to withstand immense pressure at extreme depths. Scientists have discovered that Dumbo octopuses can camouflage themselves by changing color and texture, an adaptation that helps them evade predators in the pitch-black environment. Their diet mainly consists of crustaceans and worms, which they swallow whole due to their lack of teeth. It's incredible how these creatures thrive in an environment that seems so hostile, proving just how resilient life can be. They have the unique ability to store the sperm for long periods of time after mating. This means that whenever they have optimum conditions for making babies, the female Dumbo octopus can employ the stored sperm with the most suitably developed eggs. Thus, they ensure the best chance for successful reproduction. It's kind of empowering, really. That's it for today's deep dive into the scariest parts of the ocean. Which of these sea monsters gave you the heebie-jeebies? Let me know in the comments below. Check out the other cool videos on the screen, and I'll see you next time.